All right, let's dive in. Something really big is happening in the world of marketing right now. Seriously, the job titles, they might look the same on the surface, but the expectations behind them, they've been totally rewritten. Today, we're going to unpack this whole evolution and figure out what it really takes to lead growth in this new landscape.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Is your user acquisition strategy actually built to last? I mean, really? Or does it feel a little shaky, like you're leaning on the same old tricks that just aren't hitting like they used to? It's a huge question to ask yourself because, the ground is definitely shifting under our feet.
And right here, this is the heart of it. That old playbook, the one that was all about managing campaigns and tweaking bids day in and day out, it's broken. It's done. With ad costs going through the roof, channels getting super saturated, and, the whole end of third-party cookies thing, just operating the old way isn't going to cut it. The best companies, they're not looking for campaign managers anymore. They want growth architects.
Okay, so what does that even mean in the real world? We're going to break down this new growth mandate. And to do it, we're actually going to look at a real job description from the fintech giant TaxFix. This isn't just some theory I'm cooking up. This is what the market is demanding right now, today.
So the mandate for a modern growth lead is, well, it's massive. We're talking about handling seven-figure budgets every single month. But it's not just about spending the money. It's about building the systems behind it all, designing these AI-driven growth engines, running what's basically a non-stop assembly line of experiments, and owning the entire measurement dashboard. It really all boils down to this one thing. You have to be an architect, a builder, not just an operator turning the dials.
And that brings us to the core idea we're digging into today, the huge difference between being an operator and being an architect. And trust me on this, getting this mindset shift is absolutely critical if you want to level up your career in marketing.
Let's just put it side by side. So over here, you've got the classic campaign manager. They manage campaigns, they're focused on specific channels, and they report on stuff like ROAS and CPA. They're basically following the playbook. But on the other side, that's the growth architect. They don't just manage campaigns, they own outcomes. They build entire systems. They don't just follow the playbook. They're the ones writing the new one, designing the whole engine that lets the business make big, confident decisions.
And look, this isn't just some clever name I made up. This is a direct quote from the people who are actually hiring. They are literally writing this distinction into the job description, saying, hey, we need someone who has already moved past being a campaign manager.
So, how does a growth architect see themselves? Well, it's not about being a meta expert or a Google guru. It's about seeing yourself as someone who has evolved to own the whole picture, the strategy, the testing frameworks, the measurement. Your identity isn't tied to one channel. It's tied to the growth systems you can build, anywhere.
Okay, so if an architect isn't just in the weeds tweaking campaigns all day, what are they doing? Well, they're pulling much bigger levers. Let's get into the three main systems they use to build growth that's actually scalable and, sustainable.
You know how it is. Every campaign, sooner or later, hits a wall. Performance just plateaus. An operator might just try to throw more money at it and hope for the best, but an architect, they pull these three systemic levers. First, they crank up the creative velocity, just churning out new ideas to beat ad fatigue. Second, they use AI and automation as this massive force multiplier. And third, they build a really advanced measurement system so they can actually make decisions with confidence.
This quote right here just nails the mindset perfectly. Think about it. A channel, whether it's TikTok or Google, always has a ceiling. You can only pour so much money in before your returns just tank. But a system, a repeatable process for creating, testing, and measuring, that can be scaled almost forever. That's the game changer.
Now, let's talk about a really cool concept, agentic workflows. This isn't about AI coming to take our jobs. Not at all. It's about creating systems where the AI handles the boring, tedious stuff, like shifting a tiny bit of budget from one ad to another, which frees up the humans, the strategists, to focus on the next big creative idea or the next game-changing experiment. It's all about AI making us faster and smarter, not replacing us.
So how do they make these huge strategic calls? Well, they've got a whole toolkit of measurement models. They know that no single tool tells the whole truth. So for the day-to-day little tweaks, sure, they might use multi-touch attribution, or MTA. For the big-picture budget planning, they're leaning on marketing mix modeling, or MMM. But the real secret sauce for making those confident, should we scale this decisions, that's incrementality testing. That's what proves you're actually having an impact.
And this is such an important point to remember. The goal isn't to chase some fantasy of perfect, flawless attribution. Honestly, that's impossible. The real goal is just to be able to make confident decisions when the stakes are high. It's so much better to be directionally correct and moving fast than to be perfectly precise but just standing still.
All right, that's enough theory. Let's see how this all works in the real world. How does a growth architect actually think when they're staring down a real, high-pressure business challenge?
So here's the scenario. It's peak season for your business, and the leadership team wants to scale, like yesterday. But your cost to get a customer is creeping up, and performance is all over the place. A campaign manager starts to panic. An architect, though, they just see a system that needs a little diagnosis.
And here is the architect's 4-step response. Just notice how methodical this is. Step 1, they diagnose. They don't just react, they investigate. Is this a real problem or just some random noise in the data? Step 2, they stabilize. They protect what's already working, and they build systems to get the chaos under control. Step 3, and only then, do they scale. But they do it in a controlled, gradual way. And finally, step 4, they measure everything with constant tests, creating this feedback loop. See? It's a structured process, not a panicked reaction.
Okay, so as we start to wrap this up, what's the blueprint you can actually take away from all this to start thinking and acting more like a growth architect? Let's boil it all down to a final set of core principles.
You can think of this as the growth architect's code of conduct. It's all about owning outcomes, not just tasks. It's about scaling your confidence in your decisions, not just scaling budgets blindly. It's about taking messy, imperfect data and building structure out of it. And ultimately, it's about building those repeatable growth engines that keep working long after a single campaign is over.
And that really brings us to the final question, the one I want to leave you with. When you step back and look at your work, what are you really doing? Are you building temporary campaigns, or are you architecting permanent, scalable engines for growth? The answer to that question might just define the entire future of your career.